I had a bit of a debate with Indy through chat, but well, I've got it turned up, so I'll be able to hear it in a minute.
Okay, it works.
So I take it you don't want me to repeat that. Basically, I'm fighting for my right to anonymity. It's not just my right. I think it should be a right for everybody. And I think it should be tried to shown in council and legislative for votes like this. I understand what I'm doing is very irritating and has held things up. But it's not just me. There is people like the electoral board and things who, can also be seen as not doing stuff, or can see the chats. So
Ahoy, comrades.
Hoy, Sirocco.
And I am going to go, if that's all right with you. I have some Chinese stuff to eat.
Oh,
my God, I'm eating Chinese
enjoy.
too. Blonde, it's fine. I've got some. We can live together with Chinese.
What have you got? What have you got?
Chicken cashew nut, homemade.
Oh, I'm having some salted. I'm having some salted chili chicken, which is absolutely delicious. I highly recommend it.
Oh
So,
my lord.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Still typing. I'll wait for him to finish, and then I'll rebuttal. But when I say rebuttal, it won't be anything too major. But typing a paragraph. Typing a paragraph, people. I mean, I think if you can't spell, I think he shouldn't be allowed to run. No, check it. Donald Trump is president of the United States, and he writes "coffee," which could be anything. Yeah, but
It's called thief.
my rebuttal to that is I do understand how long it takes.
Oh.
That was a DAS. But yeah, I do understand how long it took, and it is annoying, and I do understand that, and I do apologize for how long it's taken. Okay, I feel that the Supreme Court should have been filled by now, but as Sure. But I'm still there trying to get this because I've been accused a couple of times of being an elitist, which is a phrase we could get onto in a little bit. But I'm also accused of not practicing what I preach. I kind of preach change, try and get people to be part of the thing, get new people in, make things easier, make things work for people. And a lot of people are like, well, you don't do that. And this is the first opportunity I've really seen for me myself to do that. So that's what I'm trying to do. But the other issue as well is, as I say, I do understand how long it's taken. There is issues with me maybe not pinging the electoral board, but I thought they might have been able to see it. And also, I have pinged them. I pinged them a few days ago, and it shouldn't take too long to set it up. So, yeah, I mean, this is a thing. I'm trying to do what I think is right, and unfortunately, it's annoying people. But in my eyes, things don't change unless someone takes a step. Like, for example, in Democraciv, you had Pig and Ninja who caused massive fuss about 3 or 4 elections ago when they basically ran for every position. Because they could, and they were trying to exploit a hole in the issue, like in the hole in the Constitution, which basically said you can't hold more than one position, but there was nothing about saying you can't run for more than one position. They attempted to try and explain it to people, and nobody was taking it seriously. And then they took the option of doing it, really riling people up, and people were like, right, okay, this has to change. We're going to change it. We're going to change it right now. And lo and behold, what happened? They changed. Now, this is, for me, it's not a change that's going to, everybody has been voting publicly and in view of everyone since the beginning for the council. And it hasn't always caused loads of issues. Fair enough. But I think that sometimes that's because, a couple of people have voted and then everyone else can, I'll just vote for them to keep it going. Perhaps. Now, maybe it might not happen, but let's say the next time we vote for an SC, everybody has to vote privately, okay? Then, it might mean that we don't actually have an SC because nobody gets enough votes to go through. But because people are voting for who they think, it might have the opposite effect that, people might vote for who they want and, might be a bit more biased towards party lines. I'd hope people wouldn't be like that, but you never know, that might happen. But this is the thing. I want to make it a right so that people don't feel like they have to be pressured into voting a certain way, because I know for a fact, for me, a lot of the people have said, well, you should just vote and then and just get it over with. And then a few messages later, they're like, oh, who needs the votes? Oh, such and such needs just like 1 or 2 votes or like a vote. And to me, that is a sly way of somebody saying, vote for this person. They might not be meaning it to, but the way that comes across to me is very much, like this person needs 1 vote. If you get it over with, we can be moving on. And I'm like, well, maybe I don't feel that that's right. So
Allow me to rebut.
Yeah, sure.
So, from what I understand from your position, Uthred, you seem to be very inclined about like getting people involved and keeping things rolling smoothly. Although in practice,
Not necessarily rolling smoothly, Vico, but keeping people involved, particularly new people who have just joined.
which, to be fair, they kind of have been to some extent, but also the real qualm I have with this whole ordeal is that it has been 2 weeks. 2 weeks since the campaign, the whatchamacallit, the candidacy thread has been put up. The council has been basically done voting, and we are all just waiting on something to happen on your end, which is literally bogging down the whole process, which to me is not the best way to make things change, because change usually comes best when there is usually a consensus on the matter, even though right now you're gaining, in my opinion, a fair share of antipathy from basically anyone involved, be it in the Supreme Court, in the ledge, or in the executive branch, because from their stance, it is simply pushing your views on the situation instead of seeing it through a more utilitarian view, considering that it wasn't broken before, henceforth it doesn't need fixing. What Pig and Ninja did was exploit a major loophole to prove a point. This is not the same. It's a completely different matter where a councillor stalls the process of nomination for the Supreme Court while there never was an issue before.
But why am I stalling the process? What is my reason? What have I given as my reason for stalling the process?
For one, the SC is supposed to be unbiased, even though party members vote for party members. Also, you say that
What is my main thing I've said today that I've constantly saying? What is the one thing I've been saying? One little thing.
let me scroll up.
That it is the right of every citizen to have anonymity. I can never say that word properly, by the way, when it comes to voting. Now, you can argue. The whole irony in this is I would love this case to go to court so that we can have a definitive answer. But the issue is it's not going to court at the moment because there is no court.
It's not going to court because there is no court, because the whole process, which you have bogged down, has forced the last justice to quit.
Mhm.
That's not exactly the best way to bring change, as such a matter. The way you wanted to bring change was objectively one of the worst ways. You bogged down the system to a halt. It's like filibustering a nomination process. It's
I would like to
just objectively bad.
I'd like to explain to you the winter of discontent in 1973 in the UK, where a lot of union workers, such as bin men and things like that, basically went on strike for a long time, and it didn't do a lot. And things started to get a bit heated and a bit troubled, and people got so annoyed that they were initially like, "Oh, lazy bastards! They're not doing their job," blah blah blah. But they were fighting for something, and they were fighting for their rights. And then eventually, it got to the point where, because they were fighting for their rights, people were like, "Well, just give them what they want. Let's make the change," and the change happened. And depending on how you see this, depending on which side of the political spectrum you're on as well, I suppose, depends on how you see this. Okay, you can see this as me. I'm holding up the system because I just want a personal thing. But I personally see this as I'm holding up the system as this is something that I have the opportunity to do for everybody to make things better for them. You say it wasn't broken before. And technically, what we were doing was illegal because it is against the right to anonymity. Again, I can never pronounce that word, so I apologize. That we were holding these elections publicly, and it did indeed lead to some people being attacked and criticized for not voting or not supporting certain votes, okay, which underline in our right, like last part of the right to anonymity, that is that is stupidly like out of there, right? You can't have that. Now, I understand that it's taken 2 weeks, but this isn't just my issue as well. There is a part with the, as I've said before, with the electoral board where they could set this up. Maybe, you know, someone in this, and maybe if you want to go as extreme, someone in the executive chat, make a quick vote. You've already said that I'm the only person to do it, and you know it's going to be me. So therefore you're like, well, does he have the right to anonymity? Well, technically I won't be anonymous, but I've still had the right to be that way, and I've still done that. That's all I want. But it's to get the awareness that this is an issue that has happened, and perhaps, you know, we need to look at, make it clearer. Another way you could change this is you get rid of that bit of the thing. You know, you could just write, for example, in the Constitution, if you wanted to be, well, I would argue, a bit of a, you know, what's the word? Authoritarian figure, you could write, members of the Democraciv community are guaranteed the right to vote anonymity in all instances, or instead of a Democraciv-related general voting, you could change it to the monthly general elections for positions, right? That's what you could say. And then that way, technically, you know, nobody, you know, like, for example, me here and stuff like that, I can't then say I have that right, because, you know, it's not a monthly general election. It's the same argument as by-elections, you know, like you're only allowed to have one election a month. I think that's the rule at the moment, although, you know, I've already said in the past how I want to change that. But, you know, that's the rule. You're only supposed to have like one group of elections. So this is the thing, like, this is what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to make this point to people, and I understand that people aren't going to like it, and people don't want it to happen, but that's my counter argument.
I mean, now, to rebut on this matter of attacks, I've been in the council for a very long time, Uthrid. I've nominated justices, and through all my time as a council, I've rarely seen people get attacked for a vote. We've been debating openly on who we thought who were the best candidates for the Supreme Court. And I think that getting a secret vote on the matter is simply removing the idea of like getting a compromising view on the matter and discussing it openly is, to me, the way forward.
The thing is I explained earlier in the podcast that Eternal and Cataline were attacked for not supporting as I say, I don't want to say, you know, they were attacked by, I think it was, I don't know who it was, I think it might have been Gentleman and someone else. There were 2 DVP candidates. Again, like to stress that the Supreme Court is supposed to be unbiased. There's nothing, no party lines are supposed to be supported, etc. They were, after the votes, you know, the votes came out for who people were supporting in the ledge, they were attacked by DVP members, not all of them, with the accusation that they weren't voting for them because they were DSP members of the legislative and they saw Supreme Councillor candidates that were associated with the DVP. Right now, they didn't vote for that.
They were members of the legislature, though. That is a completely different matter.
Because I've made the argument that I'm trying to make this is the same system for the legislature and the council. Therefore, you make it happen in one place, it should happen in the other place. This is my argument. The problem you're having, Vico, is you've seen it like, well, it works. Arguably, it does work, but arguably, there is exploitation, okay?
There is no exploitation. I do not see where in the council you see people getting exploited for their views.
Just the council.
The council is usually a friendly enough place when there aren't people bogging down the system.
Well, it's not just the council, Vico. If I was on the ledge and the same thing was there, I would be doing the same thing, because it's the council and the legislative use the same system to vote in Supreme Council members, okay? And people have been attacked in the past, as I just mentioned, and because, you know, I'm in this position of power now, I'm trying to, well, perhaps using the wrong word, but exploit that position of power for what I see as a greater good. Now, people might say, well, the greater good is to get the Supreme Court in and get things going. Okay, I've seen that argument, and I kind of agree with that. But there are, as Indy has, said, he does see where I'm coming from, and I've said I see where he's coming from. But there's some people who kind of just think, that my argument is not worth it. It's wrong, and it's just a hassle. And it is a hassle, but sometimes, if you're making a protest, you've got to be, sometimes people don't listen if you don't make a hassle.
Yeah, it's, to me, like, getting it along is way more important than something that's going to affect only 5 members per 6 weeks. There is so much that could be done with a functioning court, especially with regards to like constitutional matters and legal troubles, and yet the most work we've decided to put in is getting that. It, to me, doesn't seem like the best way.
Because this is the easiest point that I have to change. Okay, and it's because the thing is this is relying on me, arguably, and therefore it's the easiest point that I can say, and it's just the easiest point that I'm trying to fight for. Now, if what was I saying? If I want to do things with getting the court to change constitutional matters, that's fine. But I feel like this should be addressed first, and then we can address the next things. If you don't want to deal with that, then maybe that's just your view. Okay, you can't. Not everyone can agree on everything, and this is me trying to. It's not easy to get over in text, particularly when we trying to say the same thing, and people are just kind of aren't being too. What's the word? Open to that idea. I've been getting more and more frustrated, and because now I actually have the opportunity to sit back, calmly discuss my ideas and explain it to people in a way that I feel is fit, this is what I'm trying to do.
Although, well, so far you haven't had the opportunity of discussing it calmly. The most recent event on the matter has ended up in a shouting match between the previous justice, who previously agreed on the matter of it's been 2 weeks, we should get it along, and you digging into a trench.
Obviously, Nico, you haven't been paying attention to what me and Indy have been saying on this podcast and in the chat at the same time. Me and him both, see the light in each other's arguments. At this point, okay, it's not even my issue at this point. At this point, the electoral board should step up and go, right, here is a quick voting form for you to fill out. Do it. Fucking hell, a straw poll. Sorry for the use of language there, but this is, again, I'm getting frustrated, but I'm going to keep calm. A straw poll would be good enough, all right? Just something that, means that people in future can look at it and go, maybe that's not necessarily a bad idea to do from the beginning, okay? Because I know for a fact that if I just did it, and then, over the next couple of weeks, I was like, right, maybe we should try this, guys. Nobody's going to listen to me. You're not going to want to pay attention to me. So, when you have the power in your hand to try and change something, if you want the change, you should try and make it change. If not, then, you're irresponsible with your power. But in my view, you might see I'm irresponsible with my power now, arguably.
I mean, that change you are trying to bring is good to some extent, but it's just compared to the other things that there could be where change is needed, it to me is like not worth all the hassle that we have gone through for the last 2 weeks. It's just not the most efficient and utilitarianist way of dealing with the situation. Usually discussing it instead of digging in trenches is the better way forward. Although for the last 2 weeks, it has been the latter, which to me is fortunate. And that's only exclusively regarding the Supreme Court situation. I'm not even going to begin talking about the rants.
Well, Vico, as I say, I feel that if you've got the power to change something, even a minor change, if you feel like it's going to be changed for the better, then you should be trying to do it. I understand that people are finding this really irritating, but I'm sorry. If I back down now, okay, then for me, and for the argument I'm trying to get across, it's almost as if the argument was pointless. And then the 2 weeks of hassle we've had has been for nothing. Let's at least try and come out with it with a better idea, a better structure, and something that works for everybody. Not just me. This is getting the debate talking. This is the same thing that Pig and Ninja did. All right? They tried to have the debate with people. People weren't listening. They then took action. And immediately, okay, I'm pretty sure you can agree on me with this. I'm pretty sure Indy will be able to agree with me on this. I'm pretty sure everybody in chat, in Discord will be able to agree. As soon as they did that, the amount of people who went, right, we need to change this, we need to change this, we need to change it. Like, we need to make these changes. They did it. Now, this just happens to be a change that, isn't as universally recognized, but I still think should be fought for.
The fact that it isn't universally recognized, though, is the issue. The clash of ideas has mostly been negative with regards to your views on the matter. It is an unpopular opinion. It doesn't follow what people in the forum of the government server or in the citizen server or on the subreddit have been arguing. It really is not the popular opinion that the secret vote is necessary. The public opinion right now is it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, is that public opinion or is that your opinion?
I'm taking this from...
There's a lot of people who have said Uhtred is right, it is his right. However, it has taken a long time. And as I say, I've already agreed several times. We're just going in circles at the moment. I feel like we should move on soon. As I'll wrap this up from my end, you can do it around. I understand that this has taken a long time. I understand that I have been an issue in causing this, but I feel that, as I've said, this is something that can prevent people from being bullied for the choices they make, depending on what it is. As a part of the right to information, people can be asked why they voted this particular way, and perhaps if they haven't given a good enough reason, perhaps, look at them for breaking the rules, i.e. looking at, so say, for example, we next time we do, everyone does a secret vote, and say the council remains as it is, and say you and Snake and Wes only vote for DVP members, and we're like, right, someone asks, Indy or someone else goes, why did you vote for them? In the right to information, or why did certain people vote for this one? In the right to information, you do have to give them to them. So if you were to say to them, well, I voted for them because they're a cool guy, that doesn't, to me, that wouldn't be enough. But if you were to vote for them, well, I vote for them because, they've spent several, or, a vote was made because they've had a real, they've done a lot on the council, they've had a real good part in the Supreme Court, they've made these changes, etc. Then, fair enough, okay? Also, I feel that you said that we're not going to have a discussion about this in the future, when, you said that a secret vote won't promote that. That should be the responsibility of councillors to actually have that discussion. And, there might be a unanimous secret vote. I just feel that, we are members of a government that have been elected by the people of Democraciv. Therefore, we should try and they should try and uphold the rights that are within the Constitution that people have, that the rest of the people should be acting on. If we don't uphold the rights, then, why should other people do it? That's what I'm saying. That's a big part of this. I understand where everybody's anger is coming from, but I feel that people can see that my request isn't over the top. I feel that, it has been going on for a little bit too long, but I'm not going to back down because it's going to make the time that we've tried to do worthless. But not only that, I feel like it's just going to be what do you call it? Yeah, it won't achieve anything, and it's just not going to help anybody.
Now, if I may conclude on my end, the actually, guys, be right back. I'm just gonna go get a glass of water because I'm. I'll be right back. Oh shit! Actually, the phone's ringing. Be right. You know that time where
He's from Canada, eh?
you know that fucking time where there's like this automated call saying like, "Congratulations, you've won." That bloody call. Nope, it was literally an automated voice call. It was the worst. Like I ran through the entire hallway for this shit. So my whole argument here is that, well, your point of view is very reasonable, Ushrid. Your God damn it, Indy. Your view on the matter is perfectly respectable, although the way you've been handling it has been somewhat it hasn't been the best way possible. Like it's the council in general and basically most of the vocal members of the community have gotten a negative reaction following your decision to ask for a secret vote. It is your right, but the whole point is that it is annoying. It brings up some extra bureaucracy where we really do not need more clout in the government. And this, even though the right is perfectly reasonable, but the whole issue at hand is that it has been far too long till we've had members inadequate. Yes, it has been inadequate. It has been far too long. The way used was inadequate, and through all of this, we're going to get a minor change overall when there was so much more that could have been done. That is what I found unfortunate in all of this matter. All of the shouting in the executive chat, in the forum, in the citizens, in propaganda even, all of that is going to be in the end fixed for something that is only going to affect 5 people in the entire community. That's what I find really unfortunate in all of the matter at hand.
I argue that it won't affect 5. I think it will affect more with the legislative doing a similar thing. But yeah, okay, that's fair enough. Those are 2 arguments. People, we can put this up. We can maybe cut this bit and we can have a discussion on the Reddit. No.
Yeah, why not?
I apologize for the way I was, and it was out of order, but people were just getting very agitated with me, and I technically wasn't elected to this position. I was Galton had to resign, and I was brought into it, and this is the point. This is another argument I make about things, but you're saying, I don't know what I'm saying now. I'm just going to stop. But yeah, just we can have this discussion. We'll keep it civil. I apologize for the way I was. I was trying to make a simple discussion, but people were attacking me, and I don't felt I should have been attacked for a view I held. And I was getting angry and angrier, and people were getting angrier and angrier, and it just boiled over. And now we're having a nice, calm discussion. Everybody's been quite nice. I swore once. It's fine. Anyway, espresso. What shall we talk about next?
Oh shit. I mean, that was basically the stuff of the hour, so no pun intended.
I feel like the electoral board needs a bit of a whipping. I mean, sometimes it does feel like this. Brilliant. Yeah, the electoral board needs a good whipping. Well, I think we can wrap that up then. Maybe leave it at that. We can come back next week, maybe, and see what we've done, and see if things have changed, how things have changed, and yeah, we can go from there perhaps. It was a good debate, actually. I would really like to see these for positions. I think debates for positions and things like that will be a really, really cool thing. But unfortunately, it doesn't always work like that because sometimes there's not as many people. And if you guys are hearing this and you've never been involved in Democraciv, I'm going to do a bit of a plug here. You should get involved. It is a nice community, despite the fact we were talking about how we're all swearing and shouting at each other. Trust us, it is a nice community. And get involved. Get involved in a democratically run game of Civ 5, which is really fun. And yeah, it's an interesting thing to get involved in. So perhaps we could post this on r/civ, and they might be interested. All right. Well, we can have a look. All right. Cheers, everybody. Are we done? Are we out? Okay, cool.